This is Larry's thing. Won't you hold that? Yes. Okay. All right. Good evening. This time I call to order the council meeting for Hamilton Township. Our regular council meeting, September 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being held with the benefit of public notice as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Mr. Carabelli?
Here.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
For the record, Mr. Vaquero and Mr. Whalen are absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please rise for the flag salute and remain standing for our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May you please remain standing? God of all seasons, we thank you for autumn. We thank you for the touch of coolness in the air, for the coloring of the trees, for the fallen leaves, for the fall harvest and the change of the seasons that reveals the circle of life. God of all seasons, transform the earth and transform us, and continue to watch over this township. May we be a community that nurtures strong values and morals in our children and that builds a better tomorrow for future generations. And finally, may we pray for those suffering with addiction and substance abuse during National Recovery Month. We make all these intentions in your name. Amen.
Council President, for the minutes, we have the August 16th, 2022 regular meeting minutes for your approval.
Any questions or corrections?
Did not.
Do I have a motion to accept the August 22 minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the August 16th, 2022 minutes.
Second that.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Communications. Communication C1 is the commendation observing Gold Star Families Day 2022 in Hamilton Township.
Councilman Ty, would you mind reading this?
Yeah. The commendation observing Gold Star Families Day 2022 in Hamilton Township. Whereas Hamilton Township will always support our military and their families who defended our nation's timeless truths and great freedoms. And whereas many of our brave men and women in uniform have paid the ultimate sacrifice on ensuring our country remains the land of the free and the home of the brave. And whereas their heroic actions will never be forgotten and are forever etched in the pages of our nation's history. And whereas these selfless military members have left behind fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, spouses, and children who mourn their loss. And whereas these families who have lost a loved one in defense of freedom are recognized as Gold Star families. And whereas in 1936, Congress designated the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day, and whereas this day is now commonly known as Gold Star Mothers and Family Day, and is an opportunity to recognize and honor the entire family of our fallen heroes. And whereas Hamilton Township supports our Gold Star families and commends their courage and resiliency, now therefore be it resolved by Mayor Jeffrey S. Martin and the Hamilton Township Council that we do hereby proclaim Sunday, September 25th, 2022 as Gold Star Families Day in Hamilton, and urge all Hamiltonians to express their sympathy and esteem for our Gold Star families and the loved ones they lost in military service.
Thank you, Councilman.
Commendation C2 is a proclamation observing September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Hamilton Township.
Councilman Carabelli, would you mind reading?
Yes, and as I looked over some of these numbers, it's staggering, the amount of individuals that died by suicide, and I would like to just go on record to thank those who give their time and effort to helping those through depression and just trying to right their life. So, resolution observing September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Hamilton Township. Whereas suicide remains the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 to 34. And whereas in the United States, over 47,000 people died by suicide in 2019. And whereas suicide rates have increased 30% over the last 2 decades, with suicide rates finally decreasing 2.1% between 2018 and 2019. And whereas it is estimated that in 2019 there were 1.38 million suicide attempts, and whereas over 90% of the people who die by suicide have diagnosable and treatable mental health condition, although often that condition is not recognized or treated. And whereas organizations such as the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention are dedicated to saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide through research, education, advocacy, and resources for those who have lost someone to suicide or who struggle. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor, Jeffrey S. Martin, and the Hamilton Township Council do hereby proclaim the month of September 2022 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Hamilton Township.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your comments. I'd just like to add, we also know that since COVID, we've seen quite an increase in mental illness amongst the young and adults. And just wanted to mention the addition of our new hotline at 988. So if you know someone who's in need of help, need someone to talk to, that is a free service, just like 911, you can call 988. I just wanted to add.
That's very important.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there a motion for communications C1 and C2, please?
So moved.
Seconded?
I'll second that.
Thank you. On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Communications passes 3-0. Resolution 1 is a resolution consenting to the appointment of Daniel J. Gaddy to the position of tax assessor.
Council.
I did not.
Looked at his resume.
Yeah.
Congratulate him on joining us and glad to have him.
Is he here tonight? Yes. No, okay. All right, we need to make this motion. Okay, could I have a motion on resolution 122-367?
I'll make a motion on Resolution 122-367.
I'll second that.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Resolution 2 is 22-368. Resolution authorizing the adoption of a pre-qualification regulations as required by NJSA 48:11-25 for contractors to apply to the anticipated bid for the roof, chimney, and structural stabilization at the historic Isaac Pearson House located on Hobson Avenue. This is a public hearing.
So at this time, this is a public hearing on this resolution. I just wanted to pull up, no copy yet. So this is in preservation of the Isaac Pearson House, which is actually part of the Township Historical Society and is recognized by the New Jersey Historic Preservation Office. And so if there's any public comment on this resolution, please come to the podium. Okay. Seeing none, or close public comment. I have a motion to close public comment and move on to resolution 2.
Can I just add a comment?
Sure.
Or just, so I know that we've had this on the agenda for my first few years here on council. I guess they're getting closer to making this more of a functional building and a building where they can hold more events and programming. Okay, that's exciting news.
And because it's on the New Jersey and the National Registers of Historic Places, which you had started to allude to, Council President. So this is the process you go through because it all has to be approved by the historic places so that it remains an historic building. So we're doing this in its stages, and that's why it's taking a little bit longer, but it's well worth it for the preservation of that beautiful historic home.
That's exciting. Okay.
Yeah, the restoration there will also contribute to the well-being of the neighborhood as well. So I'm glad to see that for the neighbors who live there.
And I think it's worth mentioning that we do have a good percentage of the cost as part of a grant. So the township is only paying a percentage of the total. Okay.
I'll make a motion, Council President, to move on Resolution 222-368 and close the public comment portion, right?
Thank you.
I'll second that.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. Resolution 3 is 22-369, a resolution approving a corrective action plan prepared by the Township of Hamilton in response to the July 7, 2022 State Comptroller Report entitled, "A Review of Sick and Vacation Leave Policies in New Jersey Municipalities."
Okay, thank you. Any council comment or question on this resolution?
No, at first I was a little concerned with this, but I heard that this was a corrective action plan. There were a lot of municipalities that fell into this category, correct, Kathy? If you can.
Yes, that's correct. And in fact, this is the requirement that we got when the report came out earlier this year, and that we have to report back to the state comptroller how we're going to correct the few violations that we have. And we've already taken steps to do that for several of the items that are in there. We really only had the 4 findings, and but we've taken steps already, and we still have a few more steps that we've outlined in the corrective action. And this needs to be back to the state comptroller by September 30th, so that's why we're considering it tonight.
And just to shed a little more light on that, this is a state law that changed in 2007, 2010, and we are just bringing the township into compliance with state law.
Correct. Okay. At this time, I'll open it to public comment. If anyone has any questions or comments in regards to Resolution 322-369. Please state your name and address.
Sure, James Walters, PO Box 8935, obviously Hamilton. Well, not obviously, but it's Hamilton. As part of the corrective action plan, is that something that's being offered, is that something that's offered to every municipality? Or are there steps in terms of, I don't want to say discipline, but in terms of the tiers of folks who were participating legally and those who weren't?
So I'm not sure I understand exactly your question, but this is a corrective action plan telling the state comptroller's office how we corrected some of the findings that they had where we were not in compliance with state law. And it's all in terms of regarding the state comptroller's office review of sick and vacation leave policies in New Jersey. So there were, I forget how many municipalities were in the report.
Many.
Like over 500.
No, they did a sampling of that. We provided that information to the state comptroller's office, I believe in January this year. And then subsequently the report came out, so we're just answering the report as required by the state comptroller's office.
Okay.
So I did not compare us to other towns. They are in the report, and you can see I did a quick look on some of them, especially others that were in Mercer County, just so that we could see. Many of them had the same type findings where, we're in compliance in some ways with the 2007 and the 2010 laws, but then there's other small pieces of that where we're not in compliance. And this corrective action explains how we'll get into compliance. We're not there fully yet, but we will be, and we're anticipated to be there by late spring next year at the latest.
And is part of that because some of these contracts haven't been expired yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Steve Clegg, Wolfpack Road. I just have a question. The laws that changed in 2007, 2010 affected both the sick pay payout and comp time. And I know comp time was not part of this study, but since it is directly related, did we go through and make sure we are compliant with that as well?
We have been in compliance with comp time, to our knowledge, and so, because there's also some comp time regulations at the federal level as well, and so we're always reviewing that to make sure that we're in compliance with that. So we don't believe that comp time is an issue.
Okay.
And the report really just directed at the sick and vacation leave policies.
Right.
So.
Okay, thank you.
That's the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Use this,
We need you to speak into the microphone.
yeah, if someone could assist,
You know,
thank you.
I just been at the train station for 3.5 hours waiting for someone to pick me up. I'm exhausted. Mr. Walters, thank you very much. My name is Bill Daly, and I live at 257 Virginia Avenue in Fort Lee. Now, what am I doing here? Exactly, what am I doing here? In 2003, I had a massive hemorrhagic stroke, which I came through surprisingly well. Prior to, I should say after that, I began volunteering at Atlantic Health Institute where I had my rehab done. And I began to realize that there was really no education for people to understand what stroke is, what they go through, etc. So I made a phone call at the hospital, and I began reaching out to different groups, mostly senior groups because they're the ones that have the preponderance of strokes. I've spoken to 192 groups and over 13,000 people since I started. I had to stop for some ill problems, and then the pandemic stopped me clean in my tracks.
Excuse
Now,
me, Mr.
I'd like to
Daly.
ask this young lady
Yeah,
sitting
Mr.
here.
Daly, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. The comments that we're taking right now are just on this particular resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize, it's fine. There'll be a chance, after we go through the agenda for a public comment. We would love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, sure.
That would be great.
Thank you. And I apologize for
No need.
upsetting you.
No, you're
No,
fine.
it's fine. Thank you, Mr. Walters. Do we have any other public comment on 22-369? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Council President, seeing no further public comment, I move that we close the public comment portion and move resolution 22-369.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Moving on to consent agenda, we have items CA1 through CA35 for your consideration.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As Nora, I'm going to go through some of these and just give you some of the highlights. CA1 is appointing Lisa Konopka. Again, I'm just making sure she's not here though. That's right. I just want she will be appointed to the alternate deputy registrar of vital statistics. CA2 is an additional grant of $10,597 in mental health and addiction services and youth leadership grant. We have CA4. Hold on.
CA3.
I skipped CA. Oh no, I'm sorry. CA3
Which
is
is a change address
it's just a change of address.
for the business.
C4 is an additional $750,000 for past open space purchases. CA5 is just adding new vendors, 7 new vendors. CA6 is in regards to some of the vaccinations and other preventative measures we make with COVID, an arrangement with Aetna so that we get reimbursed for those costs. Number CA7, we're adding again another service vendor. I'm going to skip down to CA15. You can see this is a reduction in cost for the accessible ramp and driveway aprons of $12,630.45. Then we have quite a few erroneous taxes. A lot of these were related to reassessments of properties, therefore their taxes changed. So we have some refunds. We have refunds for the parks, wedding, and so forth for events that had to be canceled. And then CA33 was an inactive ABC license that will be transferred to, that's Rossi's, right? Madam Clerk? Yeah.
33 is Rossi's.
Rossi's.
No, it's still on there.
Okay, I had Hamel Liquor written down.
Yes.
Okay, so I had that right. Okay, so Hamel Liquor. And 35 is, oh wait, it's different than what I have on here. 34 is the surrendering, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
Italian
That's
American.
okay for my notes. The Italian American surrender of their ABC club license and CA35 That was added since the agenda. Oh, right, so that is a rejection of a bid. We had a bid for restoration that was far outside of any reasonable cost, so we will be rejecting that bid. So that is the consent agenda in summary. I don't know if council has any questions or comments.
I did not.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to abstain on CA3 due to my position with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Alyssa, I found a typo on CA4, not material, but we should probably fix it.
The additional funds?
Yeah, I hate to quibble, but under the second heading, Township of Hamilton intends to increase. Whereas the state and Township of Hamilton, second one. I can't find it. I didn't take good notes.
Okay, we will review everything and then it's just.
It's not material, it's just a typo.
Okay.
Then that's good.
Well, okay. All right. Just want to point out CA16, we're creating, with CA16, we're enabling the creation of a master plan for our water pollution control facility. Extremely important. We're coming up with a 20-year prioritized program of capital improvements for that. We discussed CA, and isn't it unusual for a liquor license to be surrendered? Don't they usually get sold?
It's very rare. It has happened in the past, like the Arbuyer Hall previously. Before that, it was due to violations, but with the Italian American, they don't have enough members, they don't have a location, and they haven't sold alcohol in several years.
So they surrender that to the township, or, so are we gonna be able to sell that?
No, it's not a sellable, it's a club license,
Club license.
so it's not a retail consumption.
There's no windfall for Hamilton Township.
We're gonna lose $150 a year. That's it.
Madam Clerk, if Mr. Ty is abstaining from CA3, but not enough votes. So I would suggest, should the council wish, they might want to table CA3 to.
Okay,
So do we need to make a motion to do so?
so why don't we table that one first?
Okay.
Can I move to table it, even though I'm gonna be here, should I abstain from any,
You can make a motion to table.
I'll make a motion
Yeah.
to table, CA3.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so we're gonna table that to the October 20th meeting, correct?
Oh, yeah, because that's right.
October 18th.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever that.
Whatever that date is, yeah.
Okay, on that motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay.
But if there's any, we haven't done.
Right.
We haven't done
Do you have
public
any
comment.
questions or comments?
I do not.
Council President, if you don't mind, I just want to make sure on council's agenda, do you have a CA 33 relative to Rossi's? Because if you do, we need to remove that.
It does say Rossi's, even
Okay,
though
so-
my notes had the,
Yeah, it does,
All right, so I
yes.
need a motion to remove that, because we had spoken with the attorney for the buyer. They were looking for a particular date based upon a future action, which by law we cannot grant them, because it was based upon the closing date, so we can't do that. So
Sorry, which one?
that's
See-
going to be CA 33. So we can do a motion to table that until the October meeting as well.
Council President, I'll make a motion to table consent agenda item 3322-402.
do I have a second?
I'll second that.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, there's no more council comment or questions?
No.
correct? Okay. All right, so at this time, we will open up to public comment on just the consent agenda items. If you have any questions or comments, please come to the podium, state your name and address, because just on the consent agenda. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Council President, I'll make a motion on consent agenda items C, and close the public comment portion, on CA1 through 35, with the exclusion of CA3 and CA33.
Thank you. Have a second?
I will second that.
Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes 3-0. Moving on to ordinances, the following are second reading and public hearing. Ordinance 1 is 22-038, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 311 Noise, subsection 311-2, definitions. This is second reading and public hearing.
Melissa, if I could just verify, this is just making sure that our language matches the state's, correct?
Right,
For noise.
With noise ordinances, we have to follow the state, their version of the ordinance. We did, and then we sent it to them for their, so that they knew that we did it, and they're like, oh, oops, our ordinance had a mistake. So we then have to re-amend our amended noise ordinance.
Okay. All right. Any question or comment from council?
No.
Okay, just go ahead.
Change this one word, literally one.
One word.
Word change, so. But is there any public comment on 22-038? Okay, seeing none, a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the public.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Come on up, Jim.
Janice Connick, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. What does this have to do? Does this have to do like with the noise ordinance we had from Hamilton Manor? When that all hooped off, because I have a problem with, I was going to ask about noise that had happened in our neighborhood, so I was just curious about this.
This is just our general, we had just updated our noise ordinance a couple meetings ago for the whole town. And it was the one word change that we're saying that came from the state. How they define it, we just have to have it match exactly to what the state ordinance says there, or law.
Okay, all right, so then I will talk about my noise problem later.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Council President, to close the public comment portion and move on second reading ordinance number 22-038.
I'll second that.
On the motion,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Council President. On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Ordinance 2 is 22-039, an ordinance establishing mandatory direct deposit of net pay for Township of Hamilton employees in specific banking institutions based on information provided by such employees. This is second reading and public hearing.
Any questions or comments from council? Okay. This time we'll open up to public comment. If you have any questions or comments on 22-039. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Council President, I move to close the public comment portion and move 22-039 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Ordinance 3 is 22-040, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, subsection 485-19, Handicap Parking. This is to repeal space established at 23 Lillian Avenue by Ordinance 18-016. This is second reading and public hearing.
Question or comment?
I do not.
Just let you know, this person, they don't live there anymore.
Okay.
Any question or comment from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Council President, I look to close the public comment portion and move on second reading ordinance number 22-040.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Ordinance 4 is 22-0041, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 45, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Section 45-17, Residential Permit Parking. This is second reading and public hearing.
Okay. Any council comment? Okay. I'll open it for public comment. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Council President, I move to close the public comment portion and move ordinance 22-041 on second reading.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll be the second.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Ordinance 5 is 22-042, an ordinance of the Township of Hamilton and the County of Mercer, New Jersey, providing for improvements to Township's wastewater treatment system in and for the Township appropriating $6,750,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $6,750,000 in sewer utility bonds or notes of the Township to finance the same. This is second reading and public hearing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to passing this ordinance. We're not going to be able to do it tonight because we need 4 votes in order to pass this ordinance. But we do need to have public hearing. This is to make needed improvements and maintenance to our water pollution control facility. Sure.
That's all right. That's all right. Yep.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Well, we gotta allow it.
Do we just want to continue the public hearing as opposed to table?
We need to allow the public.
Right, but I'm saying you can just do the motion to continue the public hearing until October meeting. However you want to do it.
It's up to the
It all
council
comes out the
president.
same.
I support that.
I suppose that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I
Madam
have a
Clerk.
motion to, not postpone, extend.
To continue the public hearing to the October 18th.
Okay, so we're going to continue the public hearing on this ordinance till our October meeting. Do I have a motion for that?
Sorry.
No.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing on ordinance 22-042.
Is the table
Council
it?
President still needs to ask if there's anybody from the public.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Okay. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to comment on ordinance 522-042? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to close public comment?
I'll make,
Continue public comment. I'm sorry.
to carry.
Continue.
And to continue public hearing on ordinance 522-042.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And we'll all say
I wasn't gonna repeat that.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli.
Yes.
Mr. Ty.
Yes.
Ms. Phillips.
Yes.
That was a tough one for us.
Look at this pattern, try to do all the work.
Ordinance 1 is 22-043, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Section 485-19, Handicap Parking. This will be to repeal a space established at 1312 William Street by ordinance number 16-01. This is first reading and introduction.
Council President, I move ordinance 22-043 on first reading.
I'll second that.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Ordinance 2 is 22-044, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 45, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Section 45-19, Handicap Parking. This will be to establish a space for 9 Mervine Place. This is first reading and introduction.
Council President, I'll make a motion on first reading and introduction for ordinance number 22-044.
Thank you. And second?
I'll second that.
On the motion, Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 3-0. Council President, that concludes the formal agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, we will open to general public comment. We'll go by those who signed up on the list first. And we invite you on your first time to the podium. You will have 4 minutes to speak. And then after everyone's had a chance to come and speak for 4 minutes, you may return for 2.
Oh, again.
So, Mr. Daly,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask that these be passed around to the members and yourselves?
Thank you. Yes.
And I'll take whatever is left over.
Okay.
Beautiful picture of myself, I think, isn't it?
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, I meant myself, yeah. Thank you, thank you. I guess I left off, I mentioned that how many different groups I had spoken to over the years and the number of people I had spoken to. I have 4 children, adult children, that live within a half an hour of Hamilton. One does reside in Hamilton. And last year, I thought there might have been a break in the pandemic, and realizing that you guys have such an aggressive and large senior center, I contacted, and I hate, what this is gonna happen to do is that I'm not criticizing one of your stalwarts in your township, but, and I wasn't slighted, this has nothing to do with ego, but there were half a dozen times I contacted Kathleen Fitzgerald so I could make a presentation to her about what I would like to do, since it was such a large group. Ms. Fitzgerald never contacted me back. One time, out of the 6 calls, I had one young lady, and I say young, she sounded like she was 9 years old, who said to me that if I chose, that they would give me one of the rooms where they have their senior center, which might fit 12 to 15 people. And that was the best they could do. Now, I've spoken to 150 or more people at different groups, and I just felt that she was, or they were missing out on the opportunity to hear someone who has lived through it, has gone through it. And I don't recall really, I mean, it is not a large, but there's enough comedy in there to have everybody laugh. I would audition for you guys right now if you had the time. But I'm here today asking you if somebody could sit down with Ms. Fitzgerald. I sent one of these without the picture, so maybe if she sees the picture, she'll just jump right on this. But there was no picture involved the first time. And I'm just looking for you to assist me, and maybe her and I can sit down and work out a program. I take the train from Secaucus. It's a $20 trip for me to come down here. I have a son who lives there, but the passion that I have for this is just, I can't put it into words. The amount of miles that my wife and I, she unfortunately has been diagnosed with dementia, so, I can't depend on her to drive me anymore. But the number of miles we put in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in New York, are quite high. This is not a game for me, you should understand. And I'm looking to restart my education, and I've already been the past years, I've been to a number of different towns in Mercer County, but I never came this far south. So here I am, you've got the sheet. If somebody could approach her, I would love it. And I'd like to have the opportunity to speak to her about addressing the group. That's my story.
Yeah, we will certainly do that. I'll speak with Kathy myself about it. And so not to make excuses or anything for her, but they are just recently back to a semi-normal schedule there at the senior center because they've been doing most of the clinics and everything else, so they haven't even been running the senior programs for a very long time through COVID. So it's unfortunate, but that could be why she didn't get back to you right away. So, but I will certainly talk with her, and I'm sure she'll reach out to you. She's very good about that.
And I think as soon as she sees this, she'll not hesitate to move forward. Okay?
I agree with you.
I'm finished, thank you.
Well, I just want to
hang out for a while if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you. I mean, I know that's quite a trip that you made to come down and talk to us and share your experience. And again, I agree, we'll work with, you and Kathy Fitzgerald on what we can do. But again, we're just getting back to the program, so I apologize, we have to get back to you. Please follow up though, also, on our website, all of our emails are on the council page, so please do follow up but I also have your email, so I'll just follow up to make sure that you have gotten that communication.
There's an old adage about Irish people with Alzheimer's, that the one thing they don't forget are grudges. No problem, I will definitely get a hold of you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Okay. All right, next up, James Walters.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Alan. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your service. If there's anyone here who potentially would be triggered by sensitive information, I just wanted to put that out there that this potentially could be triggering. I'm here as a citizen. My comments pertain to Hamilton Police Department case 14-26327.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? 14-.
14-26327.
Thank you.
No problem. The associated case numbers are 14-22387, 14-22583, and 14-26319. The internal affairs case file is SI-14-034. My name is James Walters, and I was a provisional sergeant, which is a supervisor, with the Hamilton Township Police Department. An officer under my command put his knee on the back of a woman's neck, pinning it to the pavement. The woman could not breathe. I gave multiple orders to stop, and the officer ignored every one of them. I fought the officer. Without intervention, serious bodily injury and/or death would have occurred. The incident was almost exact in nature to the murder of George Floyd, except he died and she lived. A Hamilton Township police commander in charge of the entire township conducted an investigation. The commander told me I should not have intervened. The commander told me my actions sent a mixed message as to whether I support the Blue Code. The supervisor of internal affairs agreed with the commander. Bless you. You're welcome. I'll just repeat that sentence. The supervisor of internal affairs agreed with the commander. I should not have intervened. Body-worn audio and audio video from the police vehicle's onboard recording devices were destroyed. Civilian witnesses were not encouraged to provide statements, only police officers. After an almost 5-month investigation, a record of sustained discipline was placed in my file. They said supervisors should allow officers to use knee-to-neck pins and cut off blood flow. I've attempted for 8 years to clear my name, and for 8 years I've been shunned and disregarded. Not a single officer, supervisor, commander, chief, or public safety director supported my actions. My actions stopped a George Floyd-like murder here in this township with your police department. In the file, you will see confessions where I admit to committing the crime of obstruction. I obstructed the officer from continuing to use his knee to cut off the woman's oxygen and blood flow. The officer admitted to cutting off the oxygen and blood flow and ignoring my commands. False accusations were placed in my file, and as a result, I cannot work in law enforcement. This has also put my present-day occupation in jeopardy.
Excuse me, Mr. Walters, what you're saying is very important. I want to hear the rest. So if I could ask you to come back up to...
3 sentences.
Go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you. I forgot to start my timer. I gave Bill a pound and then that was that. Everything
You're
just
still
went.
welcome to come back up to it.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Okay, so false accusations were placed in my file, and as a result, I cannot work in law enforcement. This has also put my present-day occupation in jeopardy, and I will not be able to work. I still think it's wrong to use your knee to pin a citizen's neck, or any human, or animal, for that matter. Murder is wrong. Punishing me was wrong. And taking away my children's health insurance was wrong. Anyone who supports this, at least in my opinion, is also wrong. Please, right this wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Okay. All right, so those are the only 2 names we had on the list. Do we have anyone in chambers who would like to make public comment? Just state your name and your address when you come to the microphone. Come on, Jess.
Janice Clark, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. Okay, I have like 5 things. Number 1, is the noise ordinance still for 10 o'clock when we had that big hoopla with Hamilton Manor?
Our township attorney's looking that up for you.
Pardon?
She's
Checking that one out.
So,
we don't know off the top of our heads.
yeah.
Because there was so much hoopla over that because somebody in our neighborhood Friday night after 10 o'clock was booming, your windows rattled, and then my neighbor next door was sick. She needed to sleep, and she said she was afraid to call the police, and because she called me for the number for the, not the 911, but the regular. And so, but she waited to 10:45, and they finally stopped. But I felt badly. She was ill, she was afraid to do it, but I said, I'm sure the noise ordinance was for 10 o'clock at night, because we had that big hoopla down at the Hamilton Manor that time.
First of all, the noise ordinance wouldn't necessarily apply because that still requires someone to come out. With the noise monitor.
All right.
That's the official. But you can report it, there would be a nuisance. And nuisance defined now under our new code is, hold on. This is the wrong one. This is the new one. Hold on.
Council President, just for Janice, the one that to deal with Hamilton Manor, they were special conditions that were put on Hamilton Manor's liquor license, separate and apart from the noise ordinance.
Oh, okay.
So they're conditions for the liquor license.
Oh, because I thought that was because there was so much, we're now with having problems where I was.
So that's what that council, at that time, they put conditions on that liquor license
Oh.
to control that.
Oh, okay.
And so nuisance is defined now in our township as the following matters, things, conditions, or acts. And each of them are hereby declared to be a nuisance, injurious to the health of the inhabitants of the municipality. A, any matter, thing, condition, or act which is or may become detrimental or a menace to the health of the inhabitants of this municipality. Or B, any matter, thing, condition, or act which is or may become an annoyance or interfere with the comfort of general well-being of the inhabitants of the municipality.
Okay, so she could have called.
She could have called, and it would have been a nuisance violation because you don't need to have the decibel measured.
Okay.
But she could have filed a report that said, hey, this is a nuisance to me and to my well-being.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're a good person to have around.
She is.
Okay, and then Princeton Avenue and Cornell Heights. I don't know who's in charge of it, but the grass between the sidewalk and the curb is like yo tall. And I don't know, is that the township, responsibility? And also the grass on the other side is a little tall, but the grass between the sidewalk and the curb is ridiculous.
Is it a residential property?
No, it's the resident, it's empty area, the trees, and then the American Metro, the housing.
Oh, so the association might be.
I don't know that all that grass is theirs from the trees down the street
I
or
don't have the
not.
map in front of me to tell you that. But
So I don't know whether the
I
condo
don't know if
association is
that's
supposed to do it or not.
we'd have
Okay,
to-
we'll look into, yeah, we'll look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you have like in front of my house, there's big cracks and there's grass in there, and I have to go cut the grass because the grass is growing so high. I mean, if I pulled it out, there'd be wide cracks. Now, is that a road department thing? Would they take that out and fix the road, or that's just stays there to stay there?
Road or sidewalk?
Road.
Oh, no,
Probably catch it.
they could, yeah. And maybe we can find out whether, what's the score and whether that may be considered down the road, no pun intended, for milling and paving. I mean, if it's in need, if there's a need there, we can find out.
Yeah. And which road is that specifically?
Trinity Avenue was
Trinity,
grass, right?
okay.
The real high grass between
Yeah.
the sidewalk and the thing was Princeton Avenue. From
Yeah,
Princeton,
that's right, I wrote that down.
yeah,
Yeah, we can reach out to, Mr. Thomas, and he's really good at getting back to
from
us.
Carlisle to Bucknell, that section in there of Princeton, which is not the other end of the section, for instance. So that's that. And then, did Wawa get canned on Sloan? And somebody asked me, the Wawa is going up in Sloan and Quaker Bridge?
Yes.
I thought we knocked that down.
No.
Originally, we knocked down having the liquor store and the Wawa on the same lot. Now it's just the Wawa. The liquor store moved across the street and is
Always,
occupying
yeah.
what was previously vacant space in the former shopping center.
Oh, so that's gonna be real cute when it comes in. Okay, and then the 145 trucks, I don't know, somebody who's on the zoning, somebody from here is on the zoning board? Or no?
No.
No, okay, because then you would know about that. What they're doing with that, because they got canned and they're supposed to bring it back, I didn't know if they were bringing it back yet or not.
But to Janice's point regarding the Wawa, I just want to, and maybe the listener knows this one, but I thought the project did shrink from its original scale. Wasn't there supposed to be?
Because the traffic's gonna be horrific, that intersection's nuts as it is.
I don't know, because it's just,
Well, it's planning board.
yeah, it's.
Right, it's planning board matter, but I thought that originally it had gone before planning board and it did, the scale of the project did shrink.
It was supposed to be 2 buildings on the one.
Right.
Now it's just 1 building on the.
One building on the
In
wall.
addition, there was rejection at times, because I live right there too, Jess, so I followed it closely.
Right.
There were rejections in regard to entrances and exits and so
Right.
forth. So I guess it was revised to the point where then they were satisfied.
We were satisfied, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the entrance is better be way down past the intersection.
I hear you.
Okay. Keep fighting,
Thanks.
Joe.
I might be studying on my money too, though.
I know.
It's so terrible,
A
but,
lot of coffee at that intersection.
well, and teachers get free coffee for the whole month of September, by the way, if you want to share that with your teacher friends.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, do we have anyone else from the public who would like to come to the microphone and speak? Have any questions, comments? For the first time? No?
I gave 3 look-arounds. Doesn't look like there are any takers.
All right, welcome back, Mr. Walters.
Thank you. So obviously, word will get around the township and the police department that I came here this evening and I spoke to you. So what I would like to officially say is that I spent the better part of 30 years in law enforcement and have pretty much done everything that you could do. SWAT, hostage negotiator, street crimes, narcotics, juvenile, special victims unit, street supervisor, so on and so forth. I want to officially thank the individuals who gave me those opportunities, and most of those individuals came from the Hamilton Township Police Department. I have an enormous amount of respect and admiration for the individuals who are on the streets protecting us day and night. So for the record, this is not a slight at law enforcement. This is not a slight at Hamilton Township, nor is it a slight at the Hamilton Township Police Department. But what it is a situation where I am now in jeopardy of not being able to obtain a license, as we all know, through police reform. They are going to look at your records. So we've gone from a situation where there's something that needed to be corrected to a situation where now my livelihood is affected. Because if I apply for a license and they look at my internal affairs jacket, they're going to find a substantiated disciplinary action that is 100%, for the record, 100% false, fabricated, and untrue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Walter, actually, can you just come back up to the mic for a second? Yeah, I'm sorry. Just at this time, is there any position, like any further action you can take to clear? I'm not familiar with the process, so.
Okay. So, I don't want to go over certain lines that I am somewhat vaguely aware exist. I can say that the information that I provided to you this evening was information from a constituent to an elected body. I would ask, pray, hope that you move on the information that I've provided to you and find out how this can be corrected by whatever means necessary. And if that means opening my file to public scrutiny, I have absolutely nothing to hide. I was very blessed with a very good career. I've been through a lot of different things, but I did those things with honor and respect. So thank you for asking me to come back up, Council President.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
All right, at this time, is there anyone else from the public who would like to comment or has any questions? Yes. Sure, come on up,
Yeah,
just
come
state
on.
your name and your address.
My name is Barbara Chachuk, 1780 Klockner Road, Hamilton, New Jersey. I have like two questions. Number one is our cable company that we have to deal with. Can anything be done where they're concerned about getting a new outfit in or something? Ever since Altice came into play, it's been terrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna let our attorney speak to that.
So the status with Altice is that it's still under investigation with the DPU. We are regularly contacting them. Hamilton is one of the, what we're calling interveners. And so we are regularly emailing and calling the DPU saying, hey, we had the hearing on this, I think it's almost a year ago at this point. What's the status? So we are continuing to ride them. As for Verizon, I am in the middle of negotiating with them a settlement for well over $100,000 for violations in how they basically put wires through firewalls. And it was years ago. And so I am now dealing with one of their head attorneys down in DC, and we are very close to a settlement. And once we do that, then they should be able to come back into Hamilton.
Because in the complex that I'm living at, they said we have to deal with Optimum. I said, really? And I said, ever since I've moved in there, I was having all kinds of problems and stuff like that. Now the latest thing is you could be watching TV even 4 o'clock in the afternoon, all of a sudden the thing comes up and it says, your screen may go dark for a while so you can experience an Altice experience. What's an Altice experience? Nothing. Your TV goes down, you have to wait about 5 minutes, then click it back on.
I understand, yeah, you're.
And that's ridiculous.
Agreed, and what I would suggest also is that you are always welcome to write an email or a letter to BPU. I don't have my card with me, but if you reach out to me at the law department tomorrow, I'm the only one there, so I'll pick up the phone. And I can give you the information, the contact information for the person and the docket number for the investigation so that you can write them specifically yourself.
And the BPU stands for Board of Public Utilities. In case we're agreeing to a little too much for building.
Yeah, I kind of like knew that.
Do you have a second question?
My other issue is, I understand going back years ago, we had rent control in the township. We don't have it no more. It's really gotten out of hand. I mean, I've only lived in my complex not even a year yet. I got notification, my rent will be going up $80 a month. And I said, what am I gonna get for my $80? Nothing. You know.
This is the first time that we've probably had this type of inflation since the township.
You know, I know one time before I forget what it was, I understood an increase of like $80. I said, come on, I mean, you know, I'm not getting nothing for it. At least put grab bars in the bathroom so I can get in and out of my shower safely. They don't want to know nothing. It's like unreal. But can't anything be
We've been hearing from residents, you're not the only one.
Well, can anything be done like down the road or something like regarding that, or?
Well, we're taking it under advisement right now, and you know, we're always looking at our options, and so, I can't promise you that we're a course of action, but we do hear, we hear you, and we hear, you know, we've been hearing from other residents.
Really? I mean, it's it. I mean, because I talked to somebody from the complex, and they said, wait, they got 21 people that are making the great escape because of the rent increase and stuff like that. You know, you're on a fixed income, and you're going like, where am I going to cut corners now to try to salvage? So
it's Barbara. It's difficult. It's unprecedented time. So then your concern is and. We're going to take it under advisement because this is the second meeting that we've heard this issue pop up. You know, we want the landlords to invest in these apartment complexes and invest into the community when they own a property. So there's a little bit of give and take. We need to find a good solution, hopefully a remedy, because we've heard it from other people in the Montage development last meeting. That came and voiced their concerns. You know, when did we have a rent control board? Did we?
Decades ago.
1996, I thought somebody.
Oh, it was not the 90s?
That's what I heard.
I grew up in a rent control apartment in Coosa Village.
What's that?
I grew up in a rent control
Oh,
apartment.
well, yeah, because I know I talked to like the management from my complex.
Okay.
He thought it was like a big, oh well,
We talk a lot about keeping Hamilton affordable, especially for our seniors. We've taken measures regarding property taxes, and it's something that we need to look at and see if we can't figure something out.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else who has any public comment or question, you're welcome to come to the microphone. Okay, seeing none, a motion to close. Do we have to close public comment? I forgot.
Council comment. No.
Council comment.
Oh, okay, council comment. You want to start, Councilman Cardano?
I just would, you know, since we talked about it today, today's actually Recovery Month. This month is actually Recovery Month, September. I know in October, one organization that does a great deal of work is City of Angels. I attended an event within the last 2 weeks, and several members of the community are going to be acknowledged at that event. I'd just like to mention their name. One is extremely, I won't say questionable. He's my colleague here on the dais. Councilman Chuddy Whalen is going to be honored along with everyone knows Vinny. Vinny Capodanno is going to be honored, along with Art Ackerman. So, some really good voices on that front for, trying to get people in a situation. We know it's a big problem out there in our community, and they're on the front lines. So we want to thank organizations like that who step up to the plate and deliver results. They have a nice new facility as well. So and we're committed to those organizations as well. We did appropriate some funding for them, and along with Recovery Advocates. So. Two stellar organizations in our community. Just want to highlight them. But wish everyone, as we get to this, we may or may not have a early October meeting. I think that hasn't been decided yet. It's definitely canceled.
Well, a request to maybe have a special meeting on the 3rd instead of the 2 items that had to get moved from tonight.
Because of deadline issues with the cannabis license application, so we might need to move that.
So stay tuned for that. So we'll let you know when,
It would be a limited
agenda it should
We
be.
don't like to come up here without Alyssa Grobschrager by our side, so.
Okay, for the record, I'm not the only Jew atoning my sins now.
Tuesday, but I
Just saying.
That's all I had. That's all I had for this evening. Thank you all for coming out.
Yes,
For your
just to
comments.
piggyback on, Recovery Month, we're fortunate to have a number of organizations, in the township that work, with, folks with substance abuse issues. Our police work hand in hand, with some of these organizations. There are folks who do court interventions, to pull people, out of those types of problems. We have many people who are kind of quietly going about this work. Each year I go to the Recovery Advocates Walk, and it's a very moving event. City of Angels and Recovery Advocate, one thing that they have in common is they don't just work with the addicts, they work with the families. And, those are folks who really suffer, are the families. And it's good to see organizations that are providing support and giving them a constructive, a way to do something constructive with their grief, and a fellowship in which they can find coping mechanisms. So I commend all those organizations. We've provided the facility, I believe, for City of Angels, right? Is that the Groveville building?
No, it's actually in Yardville. It's in Yardville, City of Angels. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And they did the renovations there. So speaking of our police, I want to actually congratulate our police department for achieving reaccreditation from the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, I believe it is. Only 12% of police departments achieve this distinction. By meeting, it's an indication that our police department is meeting standards of professionalism and transparency in general in the work that they do. So I want to commend our officers and their leadership for the efforts that they're making in that regard. And finally, if anybody else out there has piles of paper like I do, I tend to accumulate paper. This weekend there's a free shredding event on Saturday. Where's that going to be held? At the library or at the municipal building? Because details will be available on the website. But if you have anything to shred, there's free shredding. And everybody have a good week.
That's a very satisfying thing to do, shredding. You guys always steal all the good stuff now. I'll just highlight real quick also, I know Councilman Caravelli read the proclamation on suicide prevention. Again, that's something that's increasing, and I've had the opportunity to get to know some newer, but some agencies and organizations who've come into town the last year. We know it's difficult for people to find help, but know that we're working on it, and even I know our health department, our health director, Chris Helwig, is going to be working with schools to invest in some education and prevention within the schools as well. So we're partnering a lot. There's a lot of good partnership with the Board of Ed and with the district for that, as we know there's need. On a different note, I just wanted to mention our the animal shelter. You know, we had a great, I don't know if anyone watched the mayor's State of the Township address. We talked about during COVID, we had an empty shelter. Everybody wanted a pet, and unfortunately, we've swung the other way. So if you know anyone, I encourage you to have them take a look. Our pets are in Pet Finder. They can come in, and we would love to have them adopted. And speaking of the library, I'm very excited that they have started as of September 1st. We are fine free. So.
Oh, like amnesty?
Yes, it's not amnesty. One day, I've seen people say, well, no one's going to bring anything back, but no.
Councilman Ty looks relieved.
So, I appreciate it.
Gather up all my life.
Yeah, so if you have materials that you have not brought back because you didn't want to pay those fines, I think it's a great idea. It really makes it much more accessible. And, you know, when we have the fines, people don't bring things back, right? So now they're hoping to keep inventory more consistent. So I was excited about that. School's back in session. Please, you know, watch the roads. And I've seen a lot of comments on social media about accidents and congestion around the schools, and just keeping our eyes peeled for our children we have a lot of walkers in Hamilton. No matter where you are, there's walkers. So I just want to ask that. And I'll wish you a good night. But Mr. Daly, you get the last word.
Thank you. By the way, if you go to heaven, I heard you sneeze before. What happens when you ask if you go to heaven and God sneezes? What do you do then? You know, God bless you. That doesn't work. Mrs. Monzo, when you're speaking to Kathleen, I would just mention if she asks that I'm no longer affiliated. It's been 4 years now with Atlantic Health. Okay, in some cases that's important. And 4 years ago, at least, I spoke to the New Jersey Hospital Association. They used to have an office, I don't know if they've reopened, in Princeton on, I forget that's it. There were doctors there from from Cooper, is it Cooper Union, the hospital in Camden? Just Cooper. And I'm sure that with the pandemic, this is even more of a problem. But this one doctor tried to make it very emphatic that they were having so many problems trying to distinguish between those that were drug abused and those that had psychiatric problems, because they all went to the same place. And for them to try to discern and, you know, to separate the two, it was extremely difficult. Just the point I wanted to make.
There's definitely a connection there.
It's cold. I take a lot of blood thinners. This is not working for me.
It is cold.
Well, thank you, Mr. Daly. Thank you for everyone who attended tonight. Like we said, keep your eyes open for when our October meeting might be. And with that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting.
Thank you for